Spain, the United Kingdom, France, Sweden, Denmark and Austria have all said that they are now backing Juan Guaido. Extra points must go to the Austrian Chancellor, Sebastian Kurz. He issued his statement via Twitter in Spanish. One country, though, one member state that isn't going to be releasing one of these statements on Monday or any day soon, it would seem, is Italy. It's been confirmed to RT from a source inside the Five Star Movement there that they're the ones saying absolutely not to backing Juan Guaido at the moment. In fact, their deputy prime minister was speaking just last week and outlined why they're taking this stance.
Italy does not recognise Guaido because we absolutely oppose the fact that a country or a group of third countries can determine the international policies of another country. This is called the principle of non-interference and has been recognised by the United Nations.
Well, it was always going to be a difficult ask. Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, had said there was no way that he was going to be caving in to this type of pressure. In fact, he said it was like, he described it as threatening Spain by saying, do this or you'll have to recognise Catalonian independence.
We don't accept ultimatums from anyone. It's like if I told the European Union, I give you 7 days to recognise the Republic of Catalonia, and if you don't, we are going to take measures.
Well, Maduro also warned that civil war is a possibility in Venezuela if the United States and EU member states continue to, well, get behind Guaido.
Whether the crisis could result in civil war depends on the degree of insanity and aggressiveness of the northern imperialists and its Western allies.
So, as we see it, the international pressure building on Nicolas Maduro, but as that builds, well, he's saying he's not going anywhere.
All right, RT's Peter Oliver there, live in Berlin. Thank you, Peter. All right, let's cross live now to political commentator John White, who's joining us now here on RT International for some reaction to the story regarding the Venezuelan crisis. John, good to see you today. Washington is crying all about democracy in Venezuela, but Maduro was democratically elected as the president and is now potentially going to be deposed, most undemocratically. Your thoughts on this?
Well, certainly the hypocrisy is inescapable. The idea that an unelected politician could be coronated as a country's president and the elected president could be de-recognised in the name of democracy, it really doesn't get more preposterous than this. I think this is a day when all Italians can be proud of their government for asserting its independence, both from the clutch of these EU member states that have fallen into Washington's orbit and from Washington as it seeks to effect what is a colonial outcome to the many problems that have beset Venezuela. This is nothing more than an attempt to interfere in the sovereignty of a nation state, and it's all about America wanting its country back, because for Trump and his cohorts, Venezuela's rightful place has always been and will always be a wholly owned subsidiary of the US and US oil corporations.
Well, John, I wanted to jump in because I think you're leading me to my next point. We're now registering 6 European countries voicing their support for this self-proclaimed leader, Juan Guaido. Why do you think these 6 have suddenly jumped to the front?
Because they want to win the favour of Washington. They want to extend themselves in assuring Washington that they are a safe bet when it comes to supporting US foreign policy. And it really does also speak to the fact that the problems in Europe have never been Russia or Russian influence. They have always been America and American influence, and that continues to this day with this outrageous, what is exercising gangsterism masquerading as statecraft when it comes to Venezuela.
Now, John, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Ukraine, we've seen some pretty standard Langley, Virginia playbook methods in action as in recent years. But Trump, when he was campaigning, said that he would be a president against regime change. He said he was tired of the US overthrowing various governments around the world. What's changed now suddenly?
The makeup of his administration, John Bolton. John Bolton is now Trump's brain to all intents. He has been prime in this bellicosity that is now issuing from the Trump administration on foreign policy. He was prime in the unilateral withdrawal of the US from the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal last year. He was prime in the Trump administration's withdrawal from the INF treaty with Russia, and he's been prime in this démarche against Venezuela. If you examine John Bolton's Twitter feed, you would think it was a parody account, such are the aggressive diktats that he is unleashing against Venezuela and ordering Maduro to accept the amnesty of this interim President Guaido and leave the country. This is Rome in the guise of a democracy. Washington is clearly the Rome of our times, and it's acting as such. It's an empire which wields unremitting power over the world, with the threat of military intervention as a last resort.
John, I'm running very low on time here. I wanted to ask you very quickly, if I could. China and Russia are a couple of the biggest financial investors in Venezuela. How can China and Russia be expected now to protect their investments in Venezuela?
Well, they really cannot. I mean, unless they were to make sure that they would have a military defence option for Venezuela, that would clearly be unlikely, and obviously that could maybe provoke an even wider crisis. But they certainly would have the moral legitimacy to do so if they felt so minded, because Venezuela is a close ally of especially Russia, and it's also involved in close economic ties with China. And that's one of the reasons that the US is bearing down on Venezuela, because the Russians and the Chinese are moving in to offer a different path for Venezuela's development. Venezuela has been under a veritable economic siege by the US for daring to turn away from Washington's orbit and daring to assert the right of its independence to run the economy, not in the interests of an inbuilt US-supported oligarchy, but in the interests of the masses of the people. The only crime that Venezuela has committed under Chavez and Maduro is a crime of a good example for the rest of the region.
All right, political commentator John White joining us here live on RT International. Many thanks indeed. I appreciate it.